यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधमाधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधमाधवा कुंज विहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधमाधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जामृषुपाद परमंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतक श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। जामृषुपाद परमंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतक श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय। श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter number 22, marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Text number 17. Yam harmya prishthe kvanad angri shobham. Yam harmya prishthe kvanad angri shobham. Yam harmya prishthe kvanad angri shobham. Vikridati kanduka vihvala akshim. Vikridatim kanduka vihvalakshim. Vikridatim kanduka vihvalakshim. Vishwavasuhu nyapatat swad vimanat. Vishwavasur nyapatat swad vimanat. Vishwavasur nyapatat swad vimanat. Vilokya sammoha vimodha chetaha. Vilokya sammoha vimodha chetaha. Vilokya sammoha vimodha chetaha. Yam harmya prishthe kvanadangri shobham. Vikridatim kanduka vihvalakshim. Vishwavasur nyapatat swad vimanat. Vilokya sammoha vimodha chetaha. Yam harmya prishthe kvanadangri shobham. Vikridatim kanduka vihvalakshim. Vishwavasur nyapatat swad vimanat. Vilokya sammoha vimodha chetaha. Yam, whom, harmya prishthe, on the roof of the palace, kvanat angri shobham, whose beauty was heightened by the tinkling ornaments on her feet. Vikridatim, playing, kanduka vihvala akshim, with eyes bewildered, following her ball. Vishwavasuhu, Vishwavasu, nyapatat, fell down, swat, from his own, vimanat, from the airplane, vilokya, seeing, sammoha vimodha chetaha, whose mind was stupefied, Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. I have heard that Vishwavasu, the great Gandharva, his mind stupefied with infatuation, fell from his airplane after seeing your daughter playing with a ball on the roof of the palace, for she was indeed beautiful, with her tinkling ankle bells and her eyes moving to and fro. Kindly repeat. I have heard that Vishwavasu, the great Gandharva, his mind stupefied with infatuation, fell from his airplane after seeing your daughter playing with a ball on the roof of the palace, for she was indeed beautiful, with her tinkling ankle bells and her eyes moving to and fro. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is understood that not only at the present moment, but in those days also, there were skyscrapers. Herein we find the word Harmya Prishthe. Harmya means a very big palatial building. Swad Vimanat means from his own airplane. It is suggested that private airplanes or helicopters were also current in those days. The Gandharva Vishwavasu, while flying in the sky, could see Devahuti playing ball on the roof of the palace. Ball playing was also current, but aristocratic girls would not play in a public place. Ball playing and other such pleasures were not meant for ordinary women and girls. Only princesses like Devahuti could indulge in such sports. It is described here that she was seen from the flying airplane. This indicates that the palace was very high. Otherwise, how could one see her from an airplane? The vision was so distinct that the Gandharva Vishwavasu was bewildered by her beauty, and by hearing the sound of her ankle bells and being captivated by the sound and beauty, he fell down. Karada Mumuni mentioned the incident as he had heard it. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. Few days back, the whole world was shaken up by the sudden news of the demise of a very prominent ex-cricketer in this world. This was the Australian cricketer by name Shane Warne. I think in the 90s or early part of this century, he was a very established player of the Australian team. And he became very famous because he had very good talent in the cricket playing field, and he made many records. And because of that, he had become very famous. And after retiring from playing, he had continued to be active in cricket, taking up various assignments like coaching and commentary, etc. So he was very much in the limelight and very popular figure. All of a sudden the news broke that he was holidaying in Thailand with some of his friends. He was just 52 years old. And they found him in the room. He was dead, suspected of a heart attack. Some natural cause. He died in his room, maybe in his sleep or whatever. So it was a shocking news. The news spread everywhere. Condolences started pouring in. He had a lot of friends in the cricketing fraternity. A lot of old ex-cricketers as well as current cricketers. They were all expressing their grief and shock at the total unexpected, because he was just 52 years old. Not very old that way, very active and quite healthy. He had no apparent health problems. That way, nobody expected it. Okay, if somebody is having some cancer, suffering from some other disease, long time, people are expecting, any time this person may go. But this man was pretty healthy. And that is why he took the whole world by surprise. And different people were saying different things, their experiences with him. They were all recollecting all the good experiences they had with him, the kind of good person he was. Everybody was glorifying him. That's natural. When a person passes away, everybody remembers all the good things he has done. The media were going around taking bites from various people, ex-cricketers as well as current cricketers, asking their their reaction. And it was trending on all the social media and the media everywhere. All these bites were being aired. They asked the people, the media interviewed people not only from Australian team but also from all other countries, England, West Indies, etc., all those kind of people. And they interviewed Indians also. One of the people whom they approached for their reaction on Shane Warne's sudden death was one of the legends of Indian cricket, Sunil Gavaskar. Sunil Gavaskar is pretty senior, much older than Shane Warne. So he responded, it's very shocking. Naturally, he also expressed his shock and surprise at the sudden demise. And he said, Shane Warne lived a full life. And so probably because of that lifestyle, he died very early. And he was very great, this one, that one, something and all, he said. Now this sentence which he said, that he lived a full life and maybe because of that he died early, people did not like. So there were a lot of criticisms saying that he was very insensitive. After all, the man has just died. Why do you want to criticize him after he has died? So you should be a little gracious, etc. And later, of course, he apologized. Sunil Gavaskar apologized. He said, I gave my frank opinion, but it was insensitive of me to say it at the wrong time. That was not the right time to, it was not the right time to express this. So I'm sorry for this. Like that, he apologized. So when Sunil Gavaskar was mentioning that Shane Warne lived a full life and maybe because of that he died early, what does it mean? Generally, in this world, when we say a person lives a full life, what it means is that the person was indulging in smoking, drinking, womanizing. A person who has all these vices is said to live a full life. He is enjoying life. He is enjoying life to the hilt. So living life to the full means fully enjoying life. No restrictions, no holds barred. Simply enjoying. See how in the current day world, somebody smokes, drinks and womanizes, he is considered to be expert in enjoyment. That is the thinking. Because everybody's heart, the strongest force is the force of lust. And everybody is trying to fulfill his lust in some way or the other. But then due to various circumstances, everybody has to restrain his senses. Somebody has some health problem, somebody has become old, somebody's reputation is at stake, what people will think of him. Somebody has a family at home, he has to think of his family will break up if he starts running after women left, right and center. So, everybody has to, although the lusty desires are there in the heart, he has to control himself. He gets diabetes, blood pressure, doctor tells you have to cut down on your alcohol and tobacco consumption. He has to reduce, otherwise he risks heart disease. So the person becomes afraid and reduces. Although in the heart, that desire continues. So everybody wants to enjoy, but then held back by various reasons. So when they see someone is unrestrictedly enjoying, they say, this guy is really enjoying life. So what it means is, in the current day world, people have embraced lust as a very dear friend. And those who are able to satisfy their lust to the fullest, they are the people who are expert in enjoyment. And this whole world is running after satisfying this lust. Lust has become the best friend of everyone in this world. On the other hand, if we look at the Bhagavad-gita, what Lord Krishna says, in the Vedic culture, in the Varnashrama Dharma, what was the position of lust? Krishna says, Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena analena cha. Krishna says the exact opposite thing of lust. Kamarupena kaunteya. Kaunteya was son of Kunti. Krishna is addressing Arjuna. He is saying Kamarupena. Kamarupena nityavairina. This Kama, lust, is Nityavairina, is the permanent enemy of the living entity. Exact opposite. Today, we think lust is the dearest friend. But Krishna is saying the opposite. No, it is not a friend. It is the eternal enemy. You can never, ever strike any friendship with lust. It is eternally your enemy. Nityavairina. That means you know, nobody can think that, okay, I may have to control lust for a little period of time. After that, when I earn a little bit of wealth, I can enjoy myself. No. Or I have to engage in some spiritual practice. By practicing yoga and all these things, I'll be able to freely enjoy my senses. No. Krishna says, in every circumstance of life, at every stage of life, whether you are rich, you are poor, you are materially very elevated, or you are materially not very elevated, you are spiritually very advanced, not so advanced, whatever it is, any stage of life, the lust has to be considered a very, very big enemy of ours. Why? Why is this an enemy? Because of two reasons Krishna gives in this verse. First reason Krishna says, Avritam jnanametena jnaninaha. Krishna refers to us, to the Atmas, to the souls as jnaninaha. Jnaninaha means the knower or the person in knowledge. Originally, all of us are in full knowledge of our not being the body and our being a spirit soul and our being a servant of Krishna. But then, what does this lust do? This eternal enemy of lust? Avritam jnanametena. That eternal enemy, lust, covers that knowledge of the living entity and puts him into the dark well of ignorance and makes him believe very strongly that I am the body. And because I am the body, I have to satisfy lust. And therefore, to satisfy lust, the living entity, the person has to carry out many sinful activities. And like this, the person becomes bound up in a network of sinful activities from which he cannot extricate himself. Inextricably, he becomes intertwined in the sinful reactions of his activities in attempting to satisfy his lusty desires. And in this way, his eternal knowledge is destroyed. So to be in ignorance, everyone understands, even materially as well as spiritually, is very enervating. It is most debilitating. It leads to destruction. Even in this material world, if you have to live a happy life and you have to earn a lot of money and all that, knowledge is important. If you are knowledgeable, you can earn a lot of money. There is a joke that once there was a ship, and this ship, when it comes to the dock, when it comes to the port, they carry out repairs and all that, because in the middle of the sea you cannot carry out any major repairs. They were doing all the repairs, and when they were repairing, they found out there is a major problem with the engine. And while they were trying to rectify it, they tried, and suddenly the engine stopped working. And they were trying, the engine is not switching on. And they called all their best engineers, their senior most engineer, the chief engineer, everybody came, nobody was able to repair it. So then they called some other experts. So various experts came, they all investigated, nobody could find out. Finally, somebody suggested, there is one old guy, very experienced guy, and very expert. Why don't you call him? So they said, okay, let us try. And they called this guy. The guy came with his bag of tools and all that, and they told him what is the problem. So he went around, inspected, and then he, tried switching on, it didn't come on and all that. And then what he did was, he took one small hammer he had, he took it out of his, this one, and in one particular area he went and tapped the engine. And then he said, now you start the engine. They switched on, they put the key and switched on the ignition, immediately it started. So he said, repaired, over. So the owners were very happy. Oh, we were thinking some big problem, but this man, came and did a very small thing and it got rectified. So they were very happy, and then this man also went back, and then later he sent his bill. His bill came to some 1 lakh rupees. So the owner said, 1 lakh rupees, what did he do? He brought one hammer and he just took, he did, and that's all. For that 1 lakh rupees, So they called him and spoke to him, this is unreasonable, yaar. I mean, if he had disassembled the engine and then repaired something and put it back and put some expensive parts and all that, we can understand. But just you came and tapped that this one. For tapping with a small hammer that engine, you cannot charge 1 lakh rupees. So this man replied, yes, what you are saying is also right. It is not justified for tapping the engine with a hammer to charge 1 lakh rupees. I'll revise my bill and send. So he revised his bill and sent. The bill now said, for tapping the engine, rupees 100. Item number 2, for knowing where to tap, 1,99,900 rupees. Or 99,900 rupees, total 1 lakh rupees, and he sent the bill. So you see how, if you have the knowledge, then you can earn a lot of money, you can live very happily in this material world. If you don't have knowledge, then it's very tough. Of course, even if you have knowledge, you have to have karma also. That's a secondary thing. But to enable karma also to act, you should have some knowledge. Without any knowledge, you cannot be. So that is why people place so much emphasis on education. Education, and they track the literacy of the states and the nation, how much percentage of the population is educated. The higher the percentage of educated population, the more advanced the country is considered. And naturally, when a person is educated, he can think in a bigger way of what kind of livelihood I can have and all those kind of things. Similarly, even in spirituality also, without knowledge, you cannot progress. Knowledge is very essential in any field of yoga, whether it is karma yogi, jnana yogi, or ashtanga yogi, or bhakti yogi. Everywhere knowledge is essential. Without knowledge, there is no question of yoga. Or you cannot call a person a yogi unless he has some spiritual knowledge. So, the knowledge, that spiritual knowledge gets covered by lust. And therefore, Krishna says, this is the first reason Krishna says, by nature, the soul, the Atma, is full of knowledge. It is made up of Satchit Ananda. It is made up of Chit. Means it is fully knowledgeable. There is no ignorance in the soul. But then, when the jiva accepts lust, kama, as a very dear friend, then what happens? Its knowledge gets covered and it starts thinking, I am the body. And thus, the soul gets caught up in this material world, in the 84 lakh species of life, taking repeated birth and death in this world, undergoing repeated happiness and miseries, eternally caught up in this cycle of birth, death, disease and old age. And so therefore, because lust does not allow us to get liberated from this cycle of birth and death with the help of knowledge, by covering that knowledge, therefore, lust becomes our enemy. The second reason why Krishna is calling lust an enemy is because Krishna says it is dushpurena analena. Anala means fire. Dushpurena analena. It is like a fire which can never be satiated. No matter how much fuel you pour into a fire, fire will never die down because of supply of fuel. Fire will only burn stronger and stronger. The more fuel you supply, the stronger it will burn. Similarly, lust impels a person to engage in sinful activities and satisfy the senses. And if we think, okay, right now my lusty desire is very strong, let me do some sinful activity, satisfy the lust and forget it. After that, over. No, the lust will not be satisfied. Once you satisfy the lust, then for temporarily it may seem little subdued, but after a little while it will come out with greater force. It will get greater strength to attack you and force you, make you submit yourself to its demands. This is the nature of lust. Therefore, Krishna says, lust is the great eternal enemy of the jiva. Therefore, living a full life does not mean engaging in smoking, drinking and womanizing. On the other hand, living a full life means conquering over this lust. When we conquer over lust by controlling the senses, that is when we really experience unfettered happiness. Happiness which is not mixed with the distress of this material world. Now the question is, how to overcome this lust? Because lust is a very powerful enemy. Over millions of lifetimes we have kept on feeding that lust and we have never fed ourselves. We have become weak and enervated. That lust has become very powerful. So how do we manage to control this lust? So in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, it is said about how to control the lust. Yat pada palasa vilasa bhaktya karmasayam grititam udgratayanti santaha tadvanna rikta matayo yatayopi ruddha sroto ganas tam aranam bhaja vasudevam. So the Bhagavatam is saying that the devotees of Lord Krishna, tad pada palasa vilasa bhaktya, tad pada palasa, the lotus feet of the Krishna is adorned with his beautiful toenails. Pada means lotus feet and palasa means the toenails. So those who engage their mind, tat pada palasa vilasa bhaktya, those who get devoted to the wonderful, beautiful toenails of the lotus feet of Krishna, karmasayam gratitam, the hard knot, gratitam, the hard knot of karma ashaya, of the desire to enjoy the fruits of our activities and engage in sense gratification, udgratayanti, they uproot that knot, they untie that knot, they cut that knot with their bhakti. So these devotees of Krishna are able to cut the knot of the desire to enjoy the senses which is stemming from lust. So how do the devotees conquer over this lust? They conquer over this lust by cutting that knot created in the heart by this lust in the form of enjoyment of the fruits of our activities by engaging the mind at the toenails of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So somebody may say, okay, a devotee may be able to do this, but even other jnanis, karmis, they are also able to do it. So to that, the Bhagavatam is saying, the Bhagavatam is clarifying, Tadvanna riktamatayo, riktamatayaha, those who are averse to rendering devotional service to the lotus feet of Krishna, Tadvan, like the devotees are able to cut that knot, na riktamatayaha, those who are averse to the devotional service of the lotus feet of Krishna, they are not able to cut that knot. Shroto ganaha, they are not able to overcome the force of the senses completely, as much as to the extent that a devotee is able to by his devotional service to Krishna. Therefore, Aranam bhaja Vasudevam, tam Aranam bhaja Vasudevam, tam Aranam, that person who is worthy of shelter, bhaja Vasudevam, that Vasudeva, Krishna, render devotional service to him. So the Bhagavatam is saying, in other words, that only by the process of engaging in devotional service to Krishna, only by the process of bhakti yoga, can a yogi completely overcome the force of lust in one's life. It is not possible by other processes which are averse to the devotional service of Krishna, whether it is karma yoga, jnana yoga, or ashtanga yoga. One cannot completely uproot that lusty desire within the heart. We may be able to subdue to some extent, but then we cannot completely remove that lusty desires from the heart unless and until one becomes a devotee of Krishna. So, we can see here in today's verse that it is not just that ordinary human beings are controlled by this lust. Even great celestial beings like the Gandharvas and Devatas, they are also controlled by lust. So it is said here, Yam harme prishte kvanadangri shobham vikridatim kanduka vihvalakshim vilokya sammoha vimuda chetaha swadvimanat vishwavasuhu nyapatat. Vishwavasu was a great Gandharva. So he is a celestial being. For the Gandharvas and for Devatas, human beings are considered very lowly. Just like we human beings, we considered cats, dogs and all, we consider them lowly animals. We don't give them any respect like that. But Devahuti was so beautiful that Gandharva, Vishwavasu, seeing her, he got bewildered. Sammoha vimuda chetaha. His intelligence became bewildered. Sammohitaha, he became bewildered. Although in Gandharvaloka, the women are very, very beautiful. Swargaloka, the Apsaras are even more beautiful. But still, Devahuti's beauty was such that even the Gandharva, Vishwavasu, was stupefied. And when he saw her and he heard the sound coming from the tinkling of her ankle bells, he became bewildered, stupefied, and he fell down from his airplane. He could not even understand what was happening. Fell down from his airplane. So even celestial beings become controlled by lust. And when lust controls a person, as it is explaining in this verse, the lust controls a man when he sees the beauty of a woman and the nice tinkling sounds generated by her ankle bells. So when these things they see, when men see, naturally lust awakens in their heart, and when that lust awakens in their heart, they get bewildered, they lose control over their senses, they don't know what they are doing, where they are going, and they fall down. This is what has happened with Vishwavasu also. When he saw Devahuti's beautiful face and heard the tinkling of her ankle bells, and he saw how she was playing with a ball on the terrace of her palace, he completely, the lust overcame his senses. He did not know where he was standing, what he was doing, fell down from his aeroplane. Now this kind of being stupefied by the beautiful form and by the beautiful sound generated by the ornaments of a beautiful woman may attract the mind of even a celestial person, forget about an ordinary human being. So, in the case of a devotee, how does a devotee, in his case, how does this lust act? The devotee of Krishna also becomes stupefied and he loses control over his senses. He becomes stunned. He forgets himself. How does that happen for a devotee? That is described by the gopis. The gopis, talking about Krishna, when Krishna disappeared, or rather when the gopis, when Krishna stood on the bank of the Yamuna and played on his flute in the middle of the night, all the gopis came running to him. And when the gopis came running to him, Krishna saw them. Oh, you have come here in the middle of the night. So this is a very dangerous place. This is a forest. A lot of wild animals will be there. You are not safe here. Should not come like this. Please go back. What will your husbands and your parents and all think of you? They must all be searching for you. They must all be worried. Please go back. Please take care of your duties. So the gopis, they became very upset with him. What is this? He played his flute and called us and we come running and now he is telling, go back. So they also thought, okay, oh, you are neglecting us. We will also neglect you. And they started looking here and there as if Krishna was not there, as if, they did not hear Krishna speaking at all. And they started looking at the forest and the moon and started talking amongst themselves. When Krishna saw that, he said, oh, you have come to see the beauty of the forest. Very nice. But this is not the time to see the beauty of the forest. Anyway, you have seen the beauty, no? Now you go back. Then the gopis said, Arey, what is this, yaar? We thought if we neglect Krishna, Krishna will give attention to us, but still he is continuing. So then the gopis started, singing some prayers to Krishna, offering their prayers to Krishna. And one of the things that they said was, because Krishna told them that go back, why have you come here? This is not the time for women of decent women from decent families to be roaming around in the middle of the forest in the night. It's not good. So you should go back. Like that, when Krishna said, in response to that, the gopis said, Kaha stri anga te pada kalamrita venu geetaha sammohitarya charitam na chalet. Na chalet trilokyam. They said in Trilokya, in the three lokas, in these three worlds, kaha striyaha, who is that woman who sammohitaha, who will not get bewildered? Who will not get bewildered with what? Te kadapalamrita venugitaha. Who will not get bewildered when they hear the beautiful notes emanating from your flute. And Arya Charitam, they may be very chaste and following all the rules of dharma and all that. Personalities like Lakshmi Devi, Parvati, they are all famous for following the rules of dharma. They never deviate from chastity, from their loyalty to their husband. So the gopis are saying, even they, Charitan na chale, they will also deviate from their position of chastity, from their vow of chastity, if they hear your flute. Forget about us. What are we? So even they will get bewildered by the sound of your flute. So ordinary people, Gandharvas, even up to the Gandharvas and Devatas, they may get bewildered by the tinkling of the ankle bells of a beautiful woman. But a devotee is only bewildered by the sound emanating from the flute of Krishna. And not only that, they said, Trailokya Sauvagam idam cha nirikshya rupam. Having seen your this beautiful Niriksha Idam Rupam, this wonderful, beautiful form of yours, which is Trailokya Saubhagam, which is most auspicious in the entire universe. What happens when somebody sees that beauty of Krishna? They say that Yad God Vijat Drumam Mrigaha Pulakanya Bibran. Seeing your beauty, Krishna, not even us, not even the great celestial women, but even God Vijat Drumam Mrigaha. Even the cows, Dvija, even all the birds of Vraja, forget about cows and birds, even the Druma, even the trees and plants, and Mrigaha, all other animals, they all become Pulakanya Vibran, they become stunned in ecstasy. They forget themselves, they are not even able to blink their eyes, they just become stunned like that. So this is what happens to a devotee when he gets attracted to Krishna by rendering devotional service to him. So the beauty of Krishna and the beauty of the sound emanated from the flute of Krishna is such that it is so bewildering, it is so enchanting that no other beauty will be appealing. Although that beauty may appeal to a person like a Gandharva, even Vishwavasu may become bewildered by the beauty of Devahuti, but a devotee is never bewildered by this temporary beauty of this material world. Why? Because there is no lust at all in his heart. And so therefore, whenever he sees, when a devotee sees a beautiful woman, or he sees her playing, or he sees her, or he hears her twinkling of her ankle bells, it does not disturb him even in the least. Whereas, when it comes to great munis and rishis, those who are jnana yogis, those who are engaged in Ashtanga yoga, they will get easily bewildered by the beauty of a woman and the tinkling of her ankle bells. There are great examples of this in the Vedic literature. Vishwamitra Muni, just by hearing the tinkling of ankle bells of the Apsara, broke his meditation. But devotees of Krishna can never be bewildered by the material beauty and the beautiful sound emanated by such beautiful women. So, if we become a devotee of Krishna, lust gets uprooted from our heart and we become attracted only by Krishna, because lust is the one that jnanam avritya, that is the one which covers the knowledge of the living entity. And because in a devotee's heart there is no lust, his knowledge is never covered, it is always uncovered, and his knowledge about the beauty of Krishna and the sweetness of that beauty of Krishna is always illuminated in the heart of a devotee, and so therefore he never gets bewildered by the material beauty of this world. So therefore, we should understand the force of lust in this material world represented by the beauty of the opposite sex, and we have to learn to become attracted by the beauty of Krishna, and by doing that we can remain unaffected by the beauty of this material world and we can be able to conquer lust. That is the only way a person can completely conquer lust. Otherwise, lust is a nitya vairina, it is a constant enemy with whom we are always fighting a losing battle in this material world if we take up any process other than Bhakti Yoga. That establishes the supremacy of Bhakti Yoga over all other yoga processes. That's how we have to understand. So I'll stop here. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss. Hare Krishna. In the last 200 years, social construct of the society has changed.
Women would not come out for work or study and all those things.
Yeah.
So more or less the society, as far as this is concerned, they would manage, in whatever regulated sense enjoyment was the order of the day, even in Western countries.
Yeah.
But last 200 years we see practically everything has changed. So everywhere, schools, colleges, workplaces, there is free mixing of both.
Yes.
So practically there is no hope for the common person other than to just act like an animal. So that is the current state of affairs.
Correct.
So
that's because the whole world has embraced lust as a dear friend. Why all these restrictions have been removed? Because, lust is a dear friend. Why are we restraining lust? Let us open it up. And that's the whole narrative in the whole society today, no? Even now, some parts of India, especially villages and all you go, they are still conservative. And women wear gungat, and men and women don't mix so freely and all those kind of things. And people are working, there are so many NGOs, so many activists who are working, who are saying, oh, this is all primitive, why are we allowing this, we should remove this, why? Lust is our dear friend, you are stopping lust. How can you stop lust? And you see all the newspapers, magazines, women should, any woman wearing skimpy clothes, exposing her skin, she is very bold, she is very progressive. Why? Because lust is our dear friend, you should let him free. Why are you holding him back? So this whole thing in the last 200, 300 years, this has come about because people have embraced lust as their dear friend. On the other hand, if we look upon lust as an enemy, then you will say, no, we have to segregate women and men, we have to put in restrictions, we cannot allow lust to have a free play in the society, all those things will come into picture. So in the olden days, people knew that lust is an enemy. This need not be told. Everyone knew lust is an enemy and he has to be controlled. So everybody followed the restrictions. But with time, what has happened is the spiritual knowledge has got lost. And as Krishna is saying, Avratam Janametena, that knowledge has got covered by lust. And so, therefore, people have started freely following that. So, the only hope for the people, as you rightly said, is to chant Hare Krishna mantra and become a devotee of Krishna. If they read Bhagavad-gita, Bhagavatam and chant Hare Krishna, that will protect them. Otherwise, there is no other protection. So, the whole Varnashrama system has collapsed. So, because of that, in the Varnashrama system, the whole focus was that. Control lust, how to control lust. So, we have discussed in the previous classes also how the whole structure of the Varnashrama system was such that those who are able to renounce more, those who are able to control lust more, they are honored more in the society. Today, it is the reverse. Those who live, those who are able to, who surrender themselves more fully to lust, they are said to be living life to the fullest. He is the man to be followed. He is the person, he is the role model. We should, he is an example we should all follow. Everybody aspires to be like him, who is able to satisfy his lust fully. So, as long as we keep embracing lust, this will continue in society. So, but the moment we start chanting Hare Krishna mantra, reading Bhagavad-gita and Bhagavatam, jnanam, that avratam jnanametena, that knowledge starts getting uncovered and we start realizing, oh my God, this lust was taking me for such a big ride. And then we start distancing ourselves from it.
People also have this misconception that Krishna lived his life to the fullest.
Sorry?
People also have this misconception. Krishna lived his life to the fullest.
Krishna, was he drinking alcohol? Was he taking drugs? Was he smoking? He was not doing any of those things. So Krishna married 16,108 queens. So that shows his supremacy. If you can also lift up Govardhana hill and hold it up for 7 days, then you can also marry 16,000 people. No problem. So for us, when it rains, we have to hold up an umbrella. That's all we can do. So for Krishna, when it rains, he holds up a whole mountain. That is Krishna's power. For us, if we marry one woman and maintain her, that's a big thing. For Krishna, because his power is so great, he marries 16,108 queens also, it is less only for him. He can maintain many more. And not only that, it's not that Krishna was one and he was, all the 16,108 queens, every day they will see Krishna once, after that their turn will come only after 16,108 days. It was not like that. Simultaneously, Krishna was present with each and every one of them in each and every palace. So can we do that? We cannot do that. That is possible for Krishna. Not only that, we have to understand that, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha. Krishna is already there in the heart of each and every living entity as Paramatma. So for those devotees of his, the queens who wanted to associate with Krishna with great deep love and affection. Krishna came out of the heart and associated with them personally. So what's wrong in that? Already Krishna is with you in the heart. Now if he comes out of the heart and stands in front of you and exchanges loving affairs with you, what is wrong in that? Why? Because after all, we are his part and parcel only. So, because we are part and parcel of Krishna, Krishna is the only enjoyer. It is Krishna's position to enjoy all the living entities. And our position is to be enjoyed by Krishna. But this very question that why Krishna lived life to the fullest and why we have to restrain ourselves means we are envious of Krishna's position. So that envy, unless it goes, we cannot understand these pastimes of Krishna. So we have to surrender to Krishna and we have to hear from the pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada. Then only we will be able to understand all these deep, profound pastimes of Krishna. Otherwise, all this misconception will be there. So, yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Like how to understand this word lusty desires? It is mainly concerned with sexual desires or something else. And another thing is why the living entities are punished with this lusty desires, which covers.
Sorry?
Why the living entities are punished with this lusty desires, which covers our real knowledge.
All right. First question is, what is the actual meaning of lust? What all is its scope? What all does it cover? Very simple and easy. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj has defined lust in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He has said, Atmendriya Preeti Vancha Taranama Kama. Krishnendriya Preeti Vancha Taranama Prema. So Kama means the desire to satisfy our senses. So it is not restricted only to the desire for enjoying sex with the opposite sex. That means the desire of a man to enjoy sex with a woman and the desire of a woman to enjoy sex with a man. That's the grossest form of lust. There are subtler forms of lust also. So any sense desiring to enjoy, eyes want to see some beautiful object, ears want to hear some beautiful music, tongue wants to taste some tasty food. These are all products of lust. And the desire to become famous, the desire to be glorified by others, puja, pratishtha, labha, kutinati, all of them are different manifestations of lust, gross or subtle. So any desire to enjoy, independent of Krishna, is called lust. And any desire to satisfy Krishna is called prema. So this is a simple definition of lust. Coming to the second question, that why the living entity is punished with lust. The living entity is not punished with lust. The living entity desired to enjoy independent of Krishna. The moment the jiva desired to enjoy independent of Krishna is put into this material world, and that desire to enjoy independent of Krishna takes the form of lust. Rather, our original position is to love Krishna. And when we replace that love for Krishna, we forget that love for Krishna and start loving our own senses, then that love for Krishna gets pervertedly transformed into lust. So lust is not an enemy. It is a perverted form of our love for Krishna. So that lust has to be purified. When we purify that lust and develop love for Krishna, automatically that contamination is gone, lust is also gone. So it is our own doing. We have desired. You see, originally we were in the spiritual world loving Krishna. At some point of time we decided, why not I enjoy independent of Krishna? Why only Krishna should enjoy like this? So the moment we desire like that, what happens? That desire itself is a manifestation of lust. Because my love for Krishna has now got perverted, it has got contaminated, now it has become lust. As long as we don't reawaken that love for Krishna, until then, lust will keep troubling us. Because the jiva cannot be without loving. Love is an integral component of the jiva, of the Atma. Love is a capacity, the capacity to love exists only in a living entity. A dead piece of wood like this cannot love anybody. So loving propensity is an intrinsic quality of the living force. Therefore, that love cannot be separated from the soul. That means either we have to experience that love in its pure form or in its perverted form. Therefore, until and unless one becomes a devotee of Krishna and starts loving Krishna again, one reawakens that love for Krishna. Until that such time, that love will continue to be with us in the form of lust. It will never leave us. Because that's the nature of the living entity. You cannot separate it from the jiva. Therefore, that is why it is said that Ruddha sroto ganas tam aranam bhaja vasudevam tadvanna riktamatayo. That is why it is said, only by bhakti yoga we can become completely free from lust. Otherwise it is not possible. You may subdue lust, but then you cannot completely eliminate it. Why? Because it is an intrinsic quality of the soul to love. And if you are not loving Krishna, that has to manifest as lust. So it is not a punishment, it is a quality of the soul. If you reawaken that love for Krishna, lust is no more there. Simple. You understood? So it's like that. So it's not a punishment, it is our own, we have taken it upon ourselves. That's how we understand. We'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.